What page?
Exhibit C.
What page?
Well,
See, so if you're reading it, well, it's, technically, it is the third page, so the third physical page.
Which
if
is-
you- If you read it on the bottom, the sentence ends excluding fences, comma.
I
And
see
then
it.
turn the page,
well, you're correct, because
it doesn't,
it goes from
Let me see that.
3
yeah,
The pictures.
to 7.
yeah, so,
Or,
and these are just rules as exhibits.
yeah,
Well, this is just,
Excluding
three,
fences.
you got 3 pages of the minutes of the meeting.
Yeah, but if you look at here, this page, it goes, this is a sentence, this is all part of what we're dealing with, and there's a comma, and you'd expect there to be something on the next page.
No, the only thing they numbered was the minutes of the last meeting.
Well, I know, but this is what we're here about tonight,
Yeah, yeah.
and it just keeps going into
Oh,
pictures
wait
and then exhibits.
Oh, I see.
a minute now. Yeah. Oh,
You see what I'm
well, that's
saying?
weird. Yeah, the second page of the staff.
It just goes right to the
recommendations.
exhibits.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I assumed
I don't know what happened there.
what your recommendation would be, but it's not in there.
Yeah, yeah. it's
And so
your-
I don't know if we can make a quick copy, or if you have.
Yeah, let me do that. Yes. See if I can do that. We're not ready yet.
No, we're a little early, so.
Sorry about that. That's my fault.
Well, I didn't know if it was just my copy, so.
no,
I think I screwed up somehow on that.
it's all of us,
Okay.
looks like. Did you go over to the big gala?
No, not
Fox
tonight.
Den?
No, my son has his first T-ball practice tonight for
Oh.
Farragut T-ball, and so I've got the 1-year-old and the 3.5-year-old, and so I can't help her juggle over dinner. It's kind of chaotic trying to have to be somewhere. I wanted to. Did you get to do that?
No, I had a seminar to give over at Oak Ridge
Oh, okay.
on surface finish,
All right.
so that's where I've been, so
Sure.
I did not get to go. Matter of fact, I was afraid I was going to be late here because Oak Ridge traffic, I didn't realize how horrible it is in the afternoons. And it's, man,
Both of my wife's parents work in Oak Ridge. If you don't have it right.
well, if I'd known it was going to be like that, I would have went out to, by the lake and come to Edgemore,
Yep.
you know, and then come across the bridge. But I did not have a clue that it was that way. You know, once you get really kind of over the hill, you know, when you're going on Pellissippi, it fans out good. But
Sure. But
Yeah.
even in Solway, I mean, sometimes for no reason, they'll just bog down
Yeah.
suddenly. And people, of course, flying to get out of Oak Ridge down.
they sure
Pellissippi.
are.
Sorry about that. It's entirely my fault. I actually copied these when
You don't do things you don't know how to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just give you a chance to look that over.
We're just gonna assume that this is in here.
That is correct. That is the rest of that.
It's the rest of the story.
Okay.
Is time collapsing on me that
What
much?
now?
I thought we just had elections of officers
Yeah, we
like
did.
a few months ago.
Yeah.
Mark, how can we possibly have elections of officers again if we just had it a few months ago?
I think we had it almost a year ago. We just haven't met.
Well, we only meet about twice a year, it seems like, and every other time we're electing officers.
Okay. That's,
Well,
was a
we're
year
supposed to have the annual meeting for election of officers right after the appointments. Typically, it's July.
Oh.
So we might have gotten off schedule a little bit last year because of, just because we didn't meet that often.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was
Probably
trying to
so.
get back as close to the typical schedule as
Is there any
possible.
word on, Mr. Lamarche? Is he gonna make the meeting?
No,
No, sir.
Not me gonna.
he's in Atlanta.
Okay, all set. You got yours? Okay, the chair notes the time is now 2 minutes after 7, so we're running a couple minutes late. Chair also notes we have 4 members present, which will be a necessary quorum for conduct of business. Therefore, this meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the Town of Farragut will come to order. The first order of business will be a swearing of witnesses. Do you represent the item before the board? Okay. Are either of you going to speak to the board, or you want to discuss with the board? Okay, well,
I'm happy to discuss if
well, you'll have to be sworn in. If whoever's going to talk, please rise and raise your right
You
hand.
and you probably need to go over to the mic if you don't mind, and anytime you speak, because this is the meeting is recorded, so.
Raise your right hand, please. You so swear that any testimony or other evidence you present before this board on matters before the board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. If you agree, say, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Later, we'll call on you to speak.
Okay, so I can go
And
back.
when we do, come over here, please. Okay. First item of business on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the April 21st, 2014 meeting. All the members have been provided a copy of the minutes. I think you had an opportunity to read them in their entirety, and we will include that missing page as part of it without further action. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting?
So move, I move.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. Next item will be election of officers. We have to elect a chairman, a vice chairman, and a secretary. We'll do it one item at a time. Approval will require 4 members present. Approval will require a vote of three members.
I nominate Corky for chairman.
A second?
We have a recommendation and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. I abstain. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now we need an appointment for vice chairman.
I nominate Keith for vice chair.
I second.
Who?
Keith?
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no.
I abstain.
And Mr. Keith abstains. That's passed. We need an appointment now for the position of secretary.
Nominate Lou.
I recommend, have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a recommendation and a second for Mr. Lamarche to continue as secretary. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. All 4 voting. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing on a request for a setback variance related to an accessory structure at 333 Wardley Road. Carolyn Shipley, applicant. Okay, does the staff have anything on this?
Just to overview what was in the packet, this involves a variance request to basically allow the storage building that's been under construction there to remain in its current location, very close to the rear property line, in this lot in Stonecrest. This initially came to the staff's attention through a citizen request on July 2nd, that somebody was building something. So we did send one of our inspectors out to investigate the matter, and he found that, yeah, there was a structure under construction. He came back and verified that they didn't have a building permit for it, and also that the structure does not meet the required setback from the rear property line for R2 zoning, which is a 5-foot setback. And there's also, because that lot is on the periphery of Stonecrest and it abuts a different subdivision, there's a standard 10-foot drainage utility construction easement that's typical of any periphery of a subdivision. So the structure, I think it's closer than a foot to the property line. It obviously is in violation of both of those sections of the zoning ordinance. The inspector had asked the applicant that what they would need to do is to obviously stop construction and submit a building permit, application and drawings, what they're doing, and then show on a compliant site plan that they would be moving the building to a location where it would meet setbacks and not be within any easements. The applicant, Ms. Chipley, she asked if they could apply for a variance, and I said, well, you can certainly request that. There wouldn't be any grounds under state law to grant a variance, but you certainly have the right to come before the board and present your case. Obviously, if a building permit had been applied for prior to construction, we would have mentioned to them that they'd have to, have the building set back a certain distance from the property line and out of the platted easement, so it would have been avoided. And there is room in the backyard to move the structure to where it would meet the setbacks, so there's not any topographic issues with the lot itself that would make that placement the only place where you could put that kind of structure. So unfortunately, the staff could not support their request, and they know that. I mentioned it to them before they even applied, that there wouldn't be any grounds for granting a variance, but the staff would recommend that they apply for a building permit and move the building to where it would meet required setbacks. There are no grounds under state law for granting a variance in this case. And I've got copies of the sections of the ordinance and things in there. But that's kind of a rough copy of the plat from Stonecrest. There's a little narrow sliver in the back of that lot where where that shed has been constructed.
Any member have any questions for Mark?
Mr. Shipley, I know it's characterized as a shed, but it seems to have at least 2 windows and maybe an opening for what I'll call a double door, a French door, or a sliding glass door. And in relation to the people that were photographed in the second picture in my packet, it looks sizable. I mean, it's bigger than what I would call
Yeah.
a pool cabana.
Mhm.
Do you have an idea what its intended purpose is?
Well, the applicant could speak to that. They're under oath, so they could speak to what what's conveyed to us is as a storage shed. So
All right,
obviously you couldn't have a second dwelling unit. That would not be allowed, independent of the setbacks. It wouldn't be allowed in that zoning district by use. It's kind of an odd configured structure because they're trying to work around trees in the back, which I certainly appreciate that. I'm a tree hugger, so I understand that. But unfortunately, in this case, there's plenty of area in the back where that building could be placed, you know, and meet the setback requirements. But they could answer that question that I think you posed there. So you might want to, you might just go up there if you don't mind.
It's a tool shed, and we're not going to have electricity, so that's why we put the windows there. And the opening is just for a door in the front.
Is this something that you hired a licensed contractor to
Yes,
make?
it is. Mhm.
All right. And is the contractor accepting any responsibility for having placed it, you know, having basically constructed something that they would have needed a permit for? I understand you didn't apply for a permit.
Right,
You
I
probably
did
wouldn't
not.
know. You're not an expert
Yeah.
contractor, I take it.
Right, and we're first-time homeowners as well.
Okay.
So, we haven't talked to him about that stuff yet, but the placement of it is, there's other depressions, like those holes that you see in those pictures. Those are really big holes. The pictures don't really do it justice. And then we also have a ditch in the middle of the yard, and I guess we didn't send a picture of that. So just that one area back there was the most ideal place for us to put it, because otherwise it was going to be in the middle of the yard, or it was going to be in those holes, which are potential sinkholes too. So
Have you taken a look at the subdivision plat, or had any, what I'll call a geotechnical engineer, or any expert who's good with?
yes, we've had
Sinkholes, okay.
civil engineers look at the landscape to see that.
Are they telling you those are sinkholes?
Well, we think that they might be big holes from an old tree that fell a long time ago with the roots and stuff. But the ditch in the middle, it's likely a sinkhole.
Does it have a mouth in it, or something that's open that you can see, or is it closed?
Well, we're in the process of closing it right now, or filling it in.
Okay. But your contractor isn't here with you tonight, I assume?
Correct, not here.
Okay.
And the placement also, the buffer zone, we have a 30-foot buffer zone behind our property. And so there's the placement, I mean, we're already 30 feet away from the other people back there. And of course, we talked to our adjacent neighbors, and everyone was real excited about the shed. And it doesn't block anybody's views. I mean, it's virtually invisible. And also, the siding is going to match our house, and you can already barely see it. And you can't see it from the street.
When you say tool shed, again, I don't know what you do for a living or anything else. Can you tell me a little bit about what sort of things you were intending?
Well,
to
it's
keep in
about
there?
400 square feet, I believe. But we're going to keep our lawnmowers in there. We have snowboarding equipment that we're going to keep in there. Basically, we've lived in the house for a year, actually on Saturday, and we haven't been able to use our garage because we have cabinetry that came from my parents' house. They just got new cabinets in their kitchen, so we're going to use those cabinets out in the shed so we can actually park our cars in the garage. And the laundry room is also out in the garage too, so it's been, we're already overflowing a little bit.
It's an unusual design. Did you hire an architect to make it, or is the contractor just making it as he goes?
No, he actually designed it.
Okay.
Yeah, he
is your
lives,
husband?
boyfriend, but we live
Boyfriend.
together. Yeah,
Okay.
we bought the house together.
Okay.
And were the drawings in there, in that packet of his?
I can put something on the screen. I don't
I've got a
know.
copy right
I
here.
think I've got everything. I just didn't include some of that because I
Right.
didn't think it was either hard to understand or, yeah, you can
Right.
give it to them.
Well, here's the drawing that he did, and all those circles are all the trees that we've designed it around.
Wonder how close these two are.
You talking about that one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's,
Well, three that could come down.
Is we've got several mature trees that we designed around, and also some growing trees. So we left plenty of space for those to grow. So we didn't have to cut down any trees.
do you have, it's been told to us that we're not aware of any rule that we're supposed to follow that allows us to grant a variance in these circumstances, or I'm not, anyway.
Right.
And that's the recommendation. And so we're not here to judge architecture or judge whether it's pretty and beneficial to the neighborhood or anything else. And, you know, from my personal perspective, I feel bad as that you're first homeowners and that you have a contractor who has built something who should have known better than to do this without getting approval or
Right.
permits or things. So, do you have anything you can point to that would help us as the Board of Zoning Appeals to give us any leeway to consider this? I mean, what
Right.
we're told is that, and what we believe from the ordinances we reviewed, is that there is a setback for not only your property setback, which is 5 feet, but because you border another subdivision, it's another 10 feet in case people have to get back there to do work
Right.
on a utility easement.
Well, the buffer zone, it's actually 30 feet. So there's that 30-foot area, and also, I mean, I grew up in Farragut, and the buffer zone lends to be like a wooded highway too for homeless people, and that's another reason we had it backed up all the way to that, because otherwise we'd have this big open space of where people could get in there, and, I mean, we've seen people walk through there, and,
That buffer area is actually in the other subdivision. It's not in their
It's in
subdivision.
Stonecrest.
It's in the cove at Turkey Creek.
Yeah, and that's why there's an extended 10-foot setback, right?
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes.
don't you have a drainage easement as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we,
Drainage, construction, utility.
well, the tool shed doesn't, it's not it doesn't have a foundation. It's up on blocks, so it doesn't go all the way to the ground. So there's at least a foot, maybe even 18, 24 inches under there.
Yeah, if there ever needed to be drainage-related work or utility-related work, those easements are, you know, supposed to be there for the utility or whatever entity has an interest in those easements to use that area for that purpose. So that's one of the reasons why we don't want structures like that in the way. They're an
Well, it's-
obstruction, and then they could be something that you all would lose in the event that somebody needed to exercise those rights, and they wouldn't be responsible for rebuilding it or paying you anything for it.
We have the back of it, just that back line, we put a 10-foot fence, and the shed is, you know, the shed's on inside the property line, so it's not blocking any of the buffer zone or any of that area.
Unfortunately, Ms. Chipley, it goes against several ordinances. And I'm surprised your contractor didn't know better.
Well, I think also, I mean, most houses in our neighborhood have tool sheds on their property line. And so, I mean, our neighborhood is a lot older than the new neighborhood behind us. And so there's, I mean, you know, I did what I thought I needed to do was ask my neighbors in my neighborhood, make sure everyone was okay with it before we started building. And, I mean, there's so many in that neighborhood who have structures, you know, not within 5 feet or 10 feet of their property line.
you grew up in Farragut, you said?
I did.
I'm assuming you've read the Farragut Press and all during your tenure
Yes,
here?
I have.
I mean, you're aware that we do have those kind of ordinances as far as drainage easements and setbacks, regardless of I mean, according to Mr. Shipley, this is a state law, is that what we're looking at here?
Well, the plat is you talking about the easement, the 10
Yes.
foot? Yeah, that's a note that's required on all plats that come before the town. That's just a standard easements along side and rear and front property lines. Each community can pattern their own kind of language, but in the town, it's always been 10 feet on the front and the rear, where the rear was along the periphery of a development. Then typically 5 feet along side property lines. Although you could have greater easements if you had like a buried pipe that was very, very large pipe, you know, that
See that?
if it needed to be dug up, you'd have to have a wider easement, you know, depending on how big the pipe is and how deep it is.
Am I correct in understanding then right now, this structure is about 1 foot off the property line, give or take, and it needs to be 10 feet off. So this building needs to be moved 9 feet,
Needs
give
to
or
be
take a little
moved
bit.
at least to where it's 10 feet away from that back property line, yes, sir.
And who's your contractor?
I think Calvin,
What's the name of his company?
Jack Construction Company.
Excuse me?
Jack Construction Company, J-A-C-K.
Is he
We've had
licensed in the
other
state of
storage
Tennessee?
buildings that have had to been moved in the town that people didn't get permits for, and they, usually it's complaint driven, because we're not out and about, we catch everything certainly, but there have been a number of storage buildings like this that have had to be moved during my tenure with the town. One guy had to move it twice 'cause he moved it once and he didn't move it enough, so then when their guys went out and measured it, he had to move it another foot, so it was kind of a fiasco, but
Miss Chipley, how big is this tree where the door, I guess it looks like the door is right here.
Can you show it?
Is that a wide tree? No, you got to cut that down if you move.
Oh, we're gonna have, if we have to move it, basically we have to tear the whole thing down. and Start over.
There is one possibility, if we're gonna suggest possibilities on this, would be just to move the back wall. Now, that would reduce how much space you have in there. But rather than tear the whole thing down, just take the back wall and move it back. Evidently, you're about a foot off the
How
line
many
now,
foot?
yeah, but you'd have to
15
move it
feet.
9 feet.
and you could move.
What's the actual floor? I mean, is it, you said 400 square
It's
feet?
around 400 square feet.
What's the dimensions of?
It's
Kind
on
of an odd
one of
shape.
those pieces of paper.
We're on here,
I can see it.
Of course, it's wrong.
I think it just has the height on this one.
the right wall's 15 feet, they would lose 9 feet.
Well, we're
Off
8 and a
that
half
right
here,
wall.
okay, and then a foot.
Yep.
So really, you're gonna have to go right across through here
Yep.
and then flip the front.
Yep.
That'd require
It also requires
2 trees to come down.
more labor costs. I mean, we've worked really hard to save money for this, but
Well, moving both the back walls forward, you understand what I'm saying? That way you may not have to tear down the whole thing.
right.
And that would be better, perhaps better than tearing down the whole thing. I don't know. And it's not our
Well, the
place.
flooring too is designed around some of those trees, so I don't know.
I want to explain to you that we have certain rules and regulations in the town which have been passed by the Board of Adjustment.
Sorry.
And there are a lot of restrictions that have to be made, and that's one of the reasons why we require things like this to have a building permit. When you go to get the building permit, these restrictions are explained to you, and you submit a plan, and we can avoid these problems. And the other thing I want to explain is the board has, by the state, specific reasons why something like this could be approved. And you have not stated any of those reasons. And it would mainly have to be something that's denied you use of the property for any purpose. Well, you have a purpose that you can serve even if this is not approved. We don't enjoy saying no to requests like this. And it's a disappointment to you, I know, and a costly disappointment, which I would hope that you would discuss with your contractors. And we don't like to say no, but that's our job.
Right.
And if that's the way the vote goes.
I also have another, I mean, I guess I can bring up these concerns now, but what about having a pond or a pond structure you know, it's on the other side of the buffer zone, so opposite of my house. You know, he's got his pond right there, right on his property line. So, I mean, for us to have to go through these steps to try and get it.
Well, I think you could file a citizen request and we could look at that just like he did with this. So, I mean, I don't know I'm not sure the specifics of that, but we could certainly look into it.
As a practical matter, if it's not before us, we can't really consider it. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
not us saying, we're just saying no to you if we do that after we take the vote. And we can't look at anything else that's not before us.
Right.
So the proper process would be to bring it before the
Yeah.
town's attention. And if it came
Yeah.
before us, and we look at it, and what we try and do is use the same rules uniformly across the board to people that appear before us. I mean, we don't try and do things differently.
Right. Well, if that's the case, I mean, there's just so many other houses in the neighborhood that have violations, and it just so happened that when they moved in, because we were there before the guy who made the complaint, and I mean, if he had never said anything, I realized that I didn't get the permit, but I don't know.
Well, and keep in mind too, we're not necessarily blaming you. So this is not about
Yeah.
blame
Oh, I
or
know, it's just,
anything else.
it's just been a
It's important.
costly thing. It's been sitting there all summer, you know, and it's, you know, basically our life this summer stopped because everything that we wanted to do, all of our money went into this, so.
We're sorry that we didn't pay $500,000 for our house, like that guy did behind us.
Yeah.
And apparently he's upset and thinks that he can say whatever he wants, and he can do that, that's fine, but there's a 30-foot buffer zone of wooded area, and that buffer zone is so that it blocks and shields a dwelling versus another dwelling. So we didn't see it being that big of a problem. And with those holes there, that shed wouldn't, our lot is shaped so awkwardly that happened to be the most ideal place to where it's not an eyesore to everyone else in the neighborhood. And unfortunately, this guy waited until we got, you know, to the point in the pictures that you see to file this complaint. And, you know, it's a very, very hardship for us. Because we've saved up money, we want to use it as storage, that's why part of it is just all enclosed so we can use it for storage for certain things that we have. And then also to be able to use as a tool shed and to be able to do gardening and things of that nature that we like to do as hobbies.
All your purposes are noble, and everything you've told us, trying to get permission from your neighbors, make sure it's not an eyesore, it's all the right stuff.
Right.
Yeah, the problem is you relied on a contractor, and it's the contractor, not you, honestly. I mean, you are supposed to know about the rules where you live. I can't say that that's not true.
We've learned a ton from this, and, you know, we're sorry that we didn't do that in retrospect. And honestly, it'll never happen again. It's just, this is the one thing that we could, you know, ask for. And from here on out, we're gonna follow those rules because we now know for a fact what those rules actually are because we are first-time homeowners. So it's,
Well,
it's
and,
also
and
part
if
of-
you ever have a question, certainly you could call me or our staff. We'll be happy to help you. This puts all of us in a very awkward position. Nobody likes telling you you have to move something. But I mean, had your contractor applied for the permit ahead of time, we would of course mention to him where it needed to go, you know.
Right.
realize that.
But, you know, I don't know. You
And
know,
we
that's-
also, I mean, we bought the house, I mean, I grew up in Farragut, he grew up in South Knoxville, and we got lucky, we got so lucky with this house, because I wanted to buy a house in Farragut, you know, and because I wanted Farragut on my side for stuff, and then, you know, it just so happens that, you know, that is part of the reason, you know, we wanted to live in Farragut, is to have, you know, town hall, but I guess I just didn't think that it,
We would enforce the rules evenly against your neighbor who has a $500,000 house versus whatever your house costs. It's not a matter of how much it costs or anything else.
Right.
If you had 20 homes, we would apply it evenly to everyone. And again, it's not our job, but we would seriously encourage you to have a strong conversation with your contractor, because they're the ones that are supposed to have the license. And when they build in a community, whether it's Knoxville or Maryville or, you know, a county, they're supposed to know what they have to do in order to comply with those codes. And this is a sizable structure. This isn't like a shed you bring in on the back of a truck from
Right.
Lowe's and plop in a yard that
Right.
maybe they plopped it wrong on the ground. A
Right.
contractor should have, if they're licensed and know what they're doing, checked into these rules. And that has done a disservice to you and put you in this hardship, in my opinion.
Do you know if he was licensed and bonded?
Oh, he does, yes.
He was?
Yeah. He does amazing work, so I mean, I would never say anything bad about his construction level. I mean, it's,
Well, if he is licensed and bonded, then
He shoulda known.
you have a very strong case.
Yes, you do.
right.
A very strong case, which I hope you would pursue, because I feel bad about this. Not as bad as you feel, but I do feel bad.
Yeah. Are there any other options for us at this point, or
Well, we kind of mapped it out there. It looks like your
move it forward?
wall right here is 8.5 feet,
Mhm.
right here. And then you're a foot, I think it says right here. No, it says 3.5 feet. Okay, so really, if you look at this whole portion right across through here, that's what's in violation. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, is that 6 foot? If you look at the drawing, right here?
6 foot, I don't have that
6 foot
drawing.
to the corner?
Oh, I don't know if I have that one handy. I'm sure you did.
Three and a half foot over there.
6 foot
okay.
off of that
Oh,
boundary
here.
line.
I mean, basically, you just need to make sure that the
5 feet.
building is 10 feet off that rear property line and 5 feet off the side.
And there's no way to get it
Yeah.
just 5 feet instead of 10 feet?
Oh, it's a weird, it's a weird
Uh,
spot, yeah.
It's, no, I mean,
Is
it's,
this still considered the back, or is that considered the side? That's where the corner here is 6 feet.
here's the back. It's supposed to be 10 feet off of that one.
President said the whole thing,
And
and I.
5 feet off
move
of this.
in, 'cause he said
Should
we're-
be okay on
Problem
that.
say right here, this is 3.5
Yeah.
feet.
You gotta
And
get it
they're gonna
together.
be 10 feet off. So there's 8.5 feet. If they came in 10 feet
Okay.
off this line, it's gonna be here.
Yeah.
You know, basically, they're gonna have.
This
They got
is
a tree there.
kind of another aerial view of it. See, that's,
Yeah, I don't know how far that is.
that's where the shed is
there.
about right there. So this is the side, and then it goes at an angle, and then that goes up the other side.
Are they correct? Is that your lot right here? Is it 13?
About
Yeah.
2/3
And so the
way
shed is back
down
here?
Here.
In that very back corner.
Okay, so right here.
Mhm.
Okay.
Laid across the-
Yeah, but just let, you cut it through, just leave this and a little walkway through.
That's about it.
Then you've got 2 roof lines and.
Oh, yeah,
it's-
yeah. Yeah, mess.
Yeah, close.
You know what they could do?
You can go back further.
This is just me, me thinking, but, and I hate to say this, but if you made,
Like that would
if you
at
put
least salvage some of it.
walls here and did away with that, you'd have 2 buildings. I know this is strange, but at least you could pick it up
it's
like a house mover does and move it,
Usually it's-
then maybe reconnect it. I don't know. I'm just trying to,
Yeah, we've got these 2 trees right here, so.
Yeah, I hate it.
Well, and
No.
this appears to be 6 foot
Grounds.
off your boundary line over here.
Right.
okay.
And that might need to be more than 6 feet off that boundary line there.
Okay.
So that becomes a problem too. But again, once you get a permit, the town will tell you and tell whoever you hire exactly how far it is.
Right.
And again, you know, hopefully you can redesign something that will
Oh,
accommodate
yeah.
your lot.
We could, but.
This appears to be 6 feet from the side, so you're good right here.
Because it just has to be 5. Because
Yeah,
it's a
it's
side
got to be
lot.
5, because it is actually the side, it's not the back. It's
Okay.
the back that we got to deal with. Because this went actually,
She's got a better one.
just a minute, I may be wrong. Which way does it go this way or this way? It goes this way, correct?
Yes,
Right across through there, right across this short side?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's out, so it goes right across through here, correct?
Yes,
This is your side yard beside your neighbor, correct?
correct.
Okay, so you're good right there.
The roof's not on it yet, right?
I'm sorry?
There's no roof on it yet,
No
right?
roof.
So it wouldn't be that hard to move weight-wise. Except for the expense.
Ron, did you show her that line where we were talking about? That
Yeah.
might be able to salvage
Yeah,
some of that.
you've got 3.5 feet, and you've got 8.5 feet. So that's actually 12 feet. Okay, so if you step back, I know there's a tree there, and that's kind of a drawing, but about right there is where you've got to go to be your 10 feet. And I'm talking about, you're almost straight across.
I have a quick question. What is that 10 feet gonna do otherwise for that buffer zone, even though we have a fence that's built on the property line? That's still our 10 feet, correct?
Well, what the ordinance reads is
Fence is excluded.
expense is excluded, and that's the only thing that is excluded.
Because people naturally
The
do,
fence can stay.
Yeah.
yes, sir,
But
yes.
we can't build anything within that 10 foot
Right.
with a roof on it. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Go a little
That's
further
right,
where you're
yes.
going with this.
I mean, can you build a deck on the back of this shed once we move that out of the way? Is that doable to add a
Yeah,
deck?
that would be
onto
all
the back
right.
of that?
A deck.
No,
Deck on a storage building,
A deck is not part of a
No.
structure.
the only thing, unless it's just a fence, is all that's
yeah, fence is the only
allowed.
thing that it allows.
Because people do obviously naturally put a fence usually along the property line. But even a fence in the easement like that is, and it's happened before in the town, is subject to being taken out if they needed to exercise their easement rights. But at least it would be less of a substantial
Financial burden.
structure to take out than something like that, you know, that's in the easement.
It would still be part of an accessory structure.
Yes, it says in accordance with section 1A, no accessory structure, comma, excluding fences, okay?
That's the language.
Detention
let's
basin
see,
structures, retaining walls,
excluding fence.
these are things that can't be placed there, shall be placed within utility, drainage, or construction easement.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
with that being said, the neighbor that called or came down here and complained about it, or had a question about the permit issue, has an actual pond right on his fence line that goes all the way around and drains with water, with rock, right on his fence line. It is not 5 feet or 10 feet off of his fence line. Is that considered a permanent structure?
Well, it's really kind of hard for us to comment on that because that's not what's in
Yeah.
front of us.
Or-
Okay, well, I mean, I can bring you some pictures and photos and let you know. and-
Well, it's not their job. You would just need to file a
I just had
citizen.
a question on that.
You would just need to file a citizen request
With
with
Mark's
the town, and our
Oh,
guys
that's-
could look at it.
No
Mhm.
problem.
Yeah,
We'll have that to you guys soon.
Well, be them, okay?
yeah.
Any member have any more questions for this lady?
No.
No?
Have any more questions for Mark? Any further discussion desired? Okay, can I have a motion to either deny or grant this request for a variance?
I would move to deny it based on the fact that there are no legal basis or grounds for granting it, unfortunately.
I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it would require, to make this denial will require a minimum of 3 votes to deny. If you desire to deny this request, say aye.
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 Yeah, it's unanimous. We have to deny it. And I'm sorry.
We're very sorry.
Yeah, we are too.
But I think all this will pass.
I hope so. The financial burden will.
Thank you all.
Okay, we're gonna have a,
I'd like to have a contractor's license is what I'd like to have.
I don't-
Yeah, oh, I know.
I-
Yeah, 'cause that's not, I'm like you, Keith, that's not like a